Victoria Hale didn't cry. CEOs of billion-dollar companies didn't break down in empty conference rooms at midnight during snowstorms. But there she was, untouchable, unreachable Victoria Hale, sobbing into her hands like the world had finally crushed her. And Caleb Rhodes, the quiet product analyst who'd stayed late to finish reports, stood frozen in the doorway, watching his boss fall apart. When she looked up and saw him, something shifted. "I need your help," she whispered. Not a command, a plea. And somehow, impossibly, Caleb knew his life was about to change forever. Stay with me until the end. This story takes some wild turns. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this journey travels. The fluorescent lights in the executive wing hummed with the kind of sterile persistence that made late nights feel like purgatory. Caleb Rhodes sat at his desk on the fourth floor, eyes burning from staring at spreadsheets for the past 11 hours, and wondered, not for the first time, why he couldn't just leave work at work like normal people did. Because normal people had normal lives. Normal people went home to warm houses and family dinners and maybe watched a movie before bed. Normal people didn't have a 6-year-old daughter asking why mommy wasn't coming back, or bills that multiplied faster than he could pay them, or a boss who expected perfection on projects that barely mattered in the grand scheme of anything. He rubbed his face and glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. Emma was asleep at his sister's place by now. Safe. Warm. Probably dreaming about the snow that had been falling since early evening, blanketing Chicago in white chaos. The storm had shut down half the city. Public transit had stopped running an hour ago. Caleb's beat-up Honda was buried in the parking garage under 2 feet of snow, and he'd already resigned himself to sleeping on the break room couch until morning. He'd done it before. The couch knew the shape of his shoulders by now. He saved his work, redundant analyses that Victoria Hale had requested 3 days ago with her characteristic lack of explanation, and stood, joints creaking. 34 felt like 50 these days. The executive floor was dark when he stepped out of the elevator. He shouldn't have been surprised. Victoria Hale wasn't known for keeping normal hours, but even she had limits, probably left hours ago in some chauffeur-driven car that laughed at snowstorms. Caleb had seen her exactly twice in the 3 years he'd worked at Meridian Analytics. Once during his interview, a 15-minute interrogation that had left him sweating through his only good shirt, and once in the elevator 6 months ago when she'd stood beside him in perfect silence, radiating the kind of cold authority that made small talk feel like treason. She was the kind of beautiful that existed behind glass, untouchable, the kind of woman who showed up in business magazines with headlines like "The Ice Queen of Tech" or "How Victoria Hale Built an Empire on Ruthless Precision." 38 years old, never married, no public relationships, no scandals, just success stacked on top of more success until the tower reached into the clouds. Caleb had no illusions about his place in her world. He was a number in a spreadsheet, a resource to be allocated, and that was fine. He didn't need to be seen. He just needed the paycheck. He walked past her office on his way to the break room, fully expecting darkness. The light was on. Caleb stopped. Through the frosted glass wall, he could see movement, a silhouette pacing back and forth with sharp, agitated movements. Was she still here, at midnight, during a blizzard? He should keep walking, none of his business. Victoria Hale didn't need a product analyst checking on her, and he definitely didn't need the kind of attention that came from overstepping boundaries. But then he heard it, a sound that didn't belong in the executive wing of a billion-dollar company. A sound that didn't belong anywhere near Victoria Hale. Sobbing. Raw, broken, desperate sobbing. Caleb's hand was on the door before his brain caught up. It opened silently. The office was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the snowstorm raging outside, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than his car, and in the center of it all, Victoria Hale collapsed in one of the chairs by the conference table, face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. She hadn't heard him. Caleb should leave, should back out slowly and pretend he'd never seen this. This was private. This was, "I know you're there." Her voice cut through the room like a blade. Not angry, just tired. So incredibly tired. Caleb froze. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Close the door. He did. His heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. He was getting fired. Fired for witnessing the moment Victoria Hale became human. She didn't look up, just sat there, hands still covering her face, breathing in shallow gasps that sounded like they hurt. Ms. Hale, what's your name? Caleb Rhodes, Product Analysis, 4th floor. I know what you do, Mr. Rhodes. I sign your paychecks. She finally lowered her hands, and Caleb forgot how to breathe. Her makeup was destroyed. Mascara tracked down her cheeks in dark rivers. Her eyes, cold gray eyes he'd seen in exactly 2 interactions, were red and swollen, and filled with something that looked like the end of the world. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time, really seeing him. You stayed late. Storm knocked out the trains. My car's buried. I was going to sleep in the break room. That's against company policy. So is whatever's happening right now. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Caleb braced for the explosion. Victoria laughed instead, a sharp, broken sound that had nothing to do with humor. Fair point. She stood, walking to the windows. The city sprawled below them, barely visible through the curtain of snow. She pressed one hand against the glass, and for a moment she looked small, fragile, nothing like the woman who'd built an empire on numbers and precision. I have a problem, Mr. Rhodes. Caleb. She glanced back at him. What? Just Caleb is fine. Caleb. She tested the name like it was foreign. I have a wedding to attend tomorrow night. My cousin's wedding. My family will be there. My ex-fiancé will be there. And her voice cracked. I can't face them alone. Not again. Not after last year when they all... She stopped, took a breath. I need someone to come with me. Someone who can pretend to be my boyfriend for one night and make them all believe I'm not the failure they think I am. Caleb stared at her. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? She didn't. She looked like a woman drowning in the middle of a snowstorm, grasping at the only lifeline in reach. Why me? Because you're here. Because you're nobody. She said it without cruelty, just fact. No one in my world knows you. You won't talk. You won't try to leverage this later, and you need the money. Everyone needs money, Caleb. I've seen your file. Single father. Wife passed away 2 years ago. Medical bills. Daycare costs. You're drowning just as much as I am. The only difference is I'm drowning in luxury. The accuracy stung. The fact that she'd looked into his background stung worse. What's in it for me? $50,000. The number hit him like a freight train. 50,000. That was Emma's college fund. That was catching up on bills. That was breathing room for the first time in 2 years. One night, Victoria continued, you show up. You play the part of my devoted boyfriend. You smile. You don't ask questions. You don't judge. And when it's over, you walk away with enough money to stop sleeping on break room couches. And if I say no, then you say no. I'll find someone else. Or I'll go alone and endure another year of my mother telling me I've sacrificed everything for a company that will never love me back. Her voice was steady now, controlled. The CEO mask sliding back into place. But I'm asking you, Caleb, because right now you're the only person in this building who's seen me fall apart, and somehow that feels like it matters. Caleb's mind raced. This was insane. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not real life. Not to product analysts who barely scraped by, but $50,000. And something else. Something in the way she looked at him, not like an employee, but like a person. Like someone who might understand what it meant to keep moving when everything inside was broken. One condition, he heard himself say. Victoria raised an eyebrow. You're negotiating? After the wedding, after the night ends, you tell me the truth. Whatever this is really about, no corporate spin, no deflection, just the truth. She studied him for a long moment. Why? Because I'm about to lie for you in front of your entire family, and I don't lie for strangers. Something shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. All right, one night of pretense, then one conversation of truth. Deal? Deal. She crossed the room and extended her hand. Caleb took it. Her grip was firm, cold, and when their palms touched, something electric shot through him that had nothing to do with business deals or money. Victoria felt it too. He could see it in the way her eyes widened slightly, the way she held on just a second too long before pulling back. The wedding is tomorrow night at the Blackstone Hotel, 7 p.m. I'll send a car for you at 5. She was all business now, but her hands were shaking. Wear something appropriate. Dark suit. Nothing flashy. You're my boyfriend, not my accessory. What's our story? How did we meet? We met at a charity gala 6 months ago. You work in finance. Easier than explaining product analysis. We kept things quiet because I don't believe in mixing personal life with public image. Keep it simple. Keep it vague. They'll fill in the blanks themselves. And your ex-fiancé? Victoria's expression hardened. His name is Marcus. He's a venture capitalist. Charming, successful, everything my family thinks I should want. We were engaged 3 years ago. I called it off 2 months before the wedding. Why? That's not part of tonight's agreement. She turned back to the window. You should go home. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be exhausting. The trains aren't running. Roads are closed. Then sleep on the couch in my office. It's more comfortable than the break room. She grabbed her coat from the rack. I'll have my driver take me home. You're leaving. Now. In this storm. I have a car capable of handling weather, Caleb, unlike your Honda Civic that barely survived the last inspection. She paused at the door. Thank you for not running when you saw me. She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Everyone breaks sometimes, Ms. Hale. Victoria, if we're going to sell this tomorrow, you need to call me Victoria. Victoria. She nodded once, and then she was gone, heels clicking down the hallway until the elevator chimed and silence swallowed the executive floor again. Caleb stood in her office for a long time, staring at the couch that probably cost more than his monthly rent, trying to process what had just happened. He'd agreed to lie, to pretend, to play boyfriend to a woman who existed in a different stratosphere of reality, for $50,000 and one conversation of truth. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. Emma's asking for you. Told her you're snowed in. She wants to know if you're okay. He typed back. I'm fine. Tell her I love her. I'll be home tomorrow. Another buzz. A calendar invitation from Victoria Hale. Blackstone Hotel, 7 p.m. Dress code, formal. +1, Caleb Rhodes. And underneath, a note. Don't make me regret this. Caleb collapsed onto the couch. It was in fact incredibly comfortable. Probably Italian leather or something equally ridiculous. Outside, the snow fell harder, burying the city in white silence. Somewhere in a penthouse across town, Victoria Hale was probably still awake, planning tomorrow's performance with the same precision she applied to quarterly earnings reports. And Caleb Rhodes, single father and accidental accomplice, closed his eyes and wondered if $50,000 was worth stepping into a world where nothing was real and everything was at stake. The car arrived at 4:47 p.m. Caleb had spent the day in a fog of panic and preparation. He'd gone home early, wading through snow that reached his knees, showered, shaved, and pulled out the one dark suit he owned, the suit he'd worn to Sarah's funeral, the suit that still smelled faintly of the lilies they'd placed on her casket. Emma had watched him get ready with wide, curious eyes. You look fancy, Daddy. I have a work thing tonight. Is it important? Very important, sweetheart. Will you be home for breakfast? He'd knelt down, pulling her into a hug that lasted too long. I will. I promise. Now, sitting in the back of a car that cost more than his annual salary, Caleb felt like an imposter. The driver hadn't spoken beyond a polite greeting. The leather seats were heated. Classical music played softly from speakers he couldn't see. His phone buzzed. Victoria. We need to synchronize our story before we arrive. The car will take you to my apartment first. Caleb stared at the message. Her apartment. He was going to Victoria Hale's apartment. The car pulled up to a building that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread about obscene wealth. Doorman, marble lobby, elevator that required a key card just to access the penthouse level. The doors opened directly into her apartment. It was exactly what he expected and nothing like it at the same time. Minimalist. Clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city stretched out below like a kingdom. But there were small things that didn't fit the corporate image. A worn paperback on the coffee table, a half-dead plant by the window, a blanket draped over the couch like someone had fallen asleep there recently. Victoria emerged from a hallway, and Caleb forgot how to think. She wore a dress that was probably worth more than his car. Midnight blue, elegant, showing just enough to be devastating. Her hair was swept up, makeup perfect, every trace of last night's breakdown erased. But her eyes, those cold gray eyes, held the same exhaustion he'd seen in the conference room. "You clean up well," she said, looking him over. "You look—" Caleb stopped. "Professional. Keep it professional. You look ready to face an army." A ghost of a smile. "That's the idea." She gestured to the couch. "Sit. We have 20 minutes to become convincing." They sat, not touching, but close enough that Caleb could smell her perfume. Something expensive and subtle. "Tell me about yourself," Victoria said. "Real things, not your resume. If we're supposed to be in love, I need to know who you are." The word love hit him sideways. Right, that's what this was. Fake love. Pretend intimacy. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Start with your daughter." So he did. He told her about Emma, about Sarah, about the accident that had taken his wife 2 years ago, a drunk driver running a red light on an ordinary Tuesday. He told her about the medical bills that insurance didn't cover, about learning to braid hair from YouTube videos, about the way Emma still sometimes called for her mother in the middle of the night. Victoria listened without interrupting, without offering empty platitudes, just listening like his words actually mattered. "Your turn," Caleb said when he ran out of things to say. "Tell me about your family." Victoria's expression hardened. "My family believes success is measured in marriages and grandchildren, not corporate acquisitions. My mother hasn't forgiven me for calling off my engagement to Marcus. My father died 5 years ago. He was the only one who understood why I built this company. My cousins are all married with perfect families and perfect lives, and I'm the cautionary tale. The woman who chose ambition over happiness." "Did you? Choose ambition over happiness?" "I chose myself. Apparently that's unforgivable." She stood, walking to the window. "Marcus will be there tonight. He married someone else last year, someone appropriate, someone who wants the same things he does. He'll be charming and polite, and my mother will spend the entire night pointing out everything I gave up." "What did you give up?" Victoria turned, and for a moment the mask slipped. "I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know if I gave up anything real or just the idea of something I was supposed to want." Caleb stood, crossing to her. "Then tonight, we show them you don't need their approval." "Is that what we're doing? Isn't it?" She looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted in the air between them, something dangerous. "We should go," Victoria said quietly, "before I lose my nerve." The Blackstone Hotel was a cathedral of old money and older expectations. Caleb had never been anywhere like it. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, people in designer clothes moving through spaces that whispered exclusivity. Victoria took his arm as they entered, and the transformation was immediate. She became someone else, poised, confident, the Ice Queen returning to her throne. "Remember," she murmured as they approached the ballroom. "We're in love, we're happy, and we don't owe anyone explanations." The doors opened, and they stepped into the lion's den. The ballroom was stunning. White roses everywhere, string quartet playing something classical and expensive, guests in formal wear, holding champagne glasses and conversations that probably moved markets. Heads turned as they entered. Victoria's grip on his arm tightened slightly, the only sign of nerves. "Victoria!" A woman in her 60s glided toward them, all sharp edges and practiced smiles. "You made it, and you brought someone. How unexpected." "Mother." Victoria's voice was perfectly controlled. "This is Caleb Rhodes. Caleb, my mother, Patricia Hale." Patricia's eyes swept over Caleb like he was a painting she was considering buying. "Charming. And what is it you do, Mr. Rhodes?" "I work in finance." "How nice." The dismissal was subtle but clear. "Victoria, darling, Marcus is here with his wife. You should say hello. It would be rude not to." "Of course." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. She led Caleb deeper into the crowd, and he could feel eyes following them, judging, measuring. "That went well," he muttered. "That was her being polite. Wait until dinner. Victoria grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter, handing one to Caleb. Drink. You'll need it. They made their way through the room, Victoria introducing him to cousins and aunts and uncles who all looked at him like he was a particularly interesting science experiment. Caleb played his part, smiled, made small talk about markets and weather and whatever else people talked about at weddings that cost more than houses. And then he saw him. Marcus. Tall, handsome in that polished TV anchor way, expensive suit that fit perfectly, standing next to a blonde woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a catalog. He saw Victoria at the same moment she saw him. The air pressure in the room changed. Marcus smiled, warm, genuine, devastating, and crossed toward them. Victoria, you look incredible. Marcus. Victoria's voice was ice wrapped in velvet. Congratulations. I hear you got married. Last year. This is my wife, Amanda. The blonde woman smiled, completely unaware of the tension crackling in the air. Nice to meet you, Amanda said. Marcus has told me so much about you. All terrible things, I'm sure. Victoria's smile was sharp enough to cut. Marcus laughed. Only the best. Victoria and I are ancient history. Water under the bridge. He turned to Caleb. And you are? Caleb Rhodes. Caleb extended his hand. Marcus's grip was firm, competitive. How did you two meet? Victoria slid her arm around Caleb's waist, and his brain short-circuited. Charity gala, 6 months ago. He spilled wine on my dress and spent the next hour apologizing. It was endearing. Marcus's smile tightened. How romantic. It was. Victoria looked up at Caleb, and the expression in her eyes was so convincing that for a second he almost believed it himself. Sometimes the best things happen when you're not looking for them. Indeed. Marcus's eyes hardened. Well, I'm glad you're happy, Victoria. You deserve it. After everything. After everything, Victoria echoed, and there was a world of meaning in those 2 words. An announcement rang through the ballroom. Dinner was served. As they moved towards the tables, Marcus leaned in close to Victoria. Too close. We should talk later, privately. There's nothing to talk about, Marcus. I think there is. Caleb felt Victoria tense beside him, felt the careful control start to crack. He made a decision. Actually, Caleb said, stepping between them, Victoria and I were hoping to get some air before dinner. The snow's supposed to clear up soon. We wanted to see the terrace. He looked at Victoria. Right, sweetheart? The endearment felt foreign on his tongue, but Victoria's eyes flashed with something that might have been gratitude. Right, the terrace. We'll catch up with everyone at dinner. She pulled Caleb away before Marcus could respond, weaving through the crowd toward the terrace doors. The cold air hit them like a wall. The terrace was empty, snow-covered chairs and tables abandoned to the storm. The city sprawled below, lights fighting through the falling snow. Victoria walked to the railing, gripping it with white knuckles. Thank you, she said quietly, for the rescue. What did he do to you? What? Marcus, what did he do that made you call off the wedding? Victoria was silent for a long moment. He didn't do anything. That was the problem. He was perfect, successful, charming, exactly what everyone expected me to want. But when I looked at our future together, all I saw was a carefully constructed performance, a merger of assets disguised as love. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't spend the rest of my life pretending. So you walked away. So I walked away. And became the villain in my own family's story. She turned to face him. You must think I'm pathetic. Hiring someone to pretend to love me because I can't face the fact that I might be alone forever. I think you're terrified, Caleb said. I think you've spent your whole life being perfect and controlled and untouchable, and somewhere along the way you forgot how to let anyone actually see you. And what makes you such an expert? Because I did the same thing. After Sarah died, I built walls. I focused on Emma, on work, on surviving. And I told myself I was fine, that I didn't need anyone. But I was just hiding, just pretending the loneliness wasn't eating me alive. Victoria stared at him. How did you stop? I haven't. Not really. Tonight's the first time in 2 years I've let myself feel anything that isn't about Emma or bills or just getting through the day. That's the $50,000 talking. No. Caleb stepped closer. This is me talking. The money got me here. But this conversation, this is real. The snow fell around them. Inside, the string quartet played something beautiful and sad. Victoria's carefully constructed walls were crumbling. He could see it in her eyes. The fear, the loneliness, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone could see her and not run. "We should go back inside," she whispered, "before they start looking for us." "Victoria, please." "I can't. Not yet. I need to get through tonight. Then you can have your truth." "I promised." Caleb nodded. "Okay, together?" She took his offered arm. "Together." They walked back into the warmth, into the performance, into the lie that was starting to feel dangerously close to something else. And as they took their seats at the family table, surrounded by people who would never understand, Caleb realized something that terrified him. The $50,000 didn't matter anymore. He was already in too deep. Dinner was a performance wrapped in cruelty and delivered with sterling silver. The family table seated 12, and Caleb found himself positioned directly across from Marcus and his catalog-perfect wife, with Victoria's mother holding court at the head like a judge, presiding over a sentencing. Victoria sat beside him, spine rigid, one hand resting on the table while the other gripped her napkin beneath it hard enough that her knuckles had gone white. The first course arrived with practiced efficiency, some kind of soup that probably had a French name Caleb couldn't pronounce. He picked up the correct spoon, outermost. He'd learned that much from a YouTube video he'd watched in a panic that afternoon, and tried to look like he belonged. "So Caleb," Patricia began, her voice carrying across the table with the precision of a scalpel, "Victoria mentioned you work in finance. Which firm?" He'd prepared for this. Victoria had coached him. "I'm with a boutique consulting group. We handle private portfolio analysis." "How discreet." Patricia's smile was all teeth. "I don't believe I've heard of it." "That's rather the point of boutique, Mother," Victoria said smoothly. "Exclusivity." "Of course." Patricia turned her attention to the soup, but Caleb could feel her calculating, measuring, finding him lacking in ways she'd catalog later. Marcus leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine. 6 months, Victoria said. "That's quite a whirlwind. You two must be serious." "We are," Victoria replied before Caleb could speak. "Serious enough to meet the family. That's significant." Marcus glanced at his wife, who smiled obliviously. "Amanda and I dated for 2 years before I proposed. We wanted to be absolutely certain." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Victoria's grip on her napkin tightened. Caleb could see the fracture lines forming in her composure. He reached under the table and found her other hand, threaded his fingers through hers. She startled, eyes flicking to him. He squeezed gently. "Sometimes you just know," Caleb said, looking at Marcus but meaning Victoria. "Sometimes certain doesn't take 2 years. Sometimes it takes one conversation at midnight in an empty office while the world's falling apart outside." It wasn't part of the script, wasn't part of the story they'd rehearsed. But it was true enough that Victoria's breath caught, and for a second the mask slipped and something real flashed in her eyes. "How romantic," Amanda said, completely missing the undercurrents. "Marcus proposed to me in Paris, at the Eiffel Tower. It was like something out of a movie." "Of course it was," Victoria murmured, so quietly only Caleb heard. The second course arrived, then the third. Conversation flowed around them, business mergers and vacation homes and whose children had gotten into which prestigious schools. Caleb contributed when required, deflected when necessary, and held Victoria's hand under the table like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to the ground. Across the table, Marcus watched them with eyes that had stopped being friendly, somewhere around the soup course. "You know what I find interesting," Marcus said during a lull in conversation, "is that in all the time Victoria and I were together, she never once brought me to a family event while we were dating. We kept everything private until we were engaged. And yet here you are, Caleb, after only 6 months. Makes a man wonder what's different." The table went quiet. Patricia's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Victoria's hand went rigid in Caleb's grip. "What's different," Victoria said, her voice dangerously calm, "is that Caleb isn't afraid of what my family thinks. He's here because I asked him to be, not because it serves some strategic purpose in his 5-year plan." Marcus's smile didn't waver. "I'm not sure that's entirely fair." "Isn't it? Tell me, Marcus, when you proposed, did you love me? Or did you love the idea of merging Hale Industries with your venture capital empire?" Amanda's smile faltered. Marcus, what is she talking about? Ancient history, Marcus said smoothly. Victoria has always had a flair for the dramatic. Don't. Victoria pulled her hand from Caleb's, standing abruptly. Don't you dare rewrite what happened. You proposed to me at a board meeting, literally during a presentation about synergistic opportunities. You had PowerPoint slides, Marcus. Slides about our future together with projected revenue growth. The table stared. Patricia looked like she might faint. You told me I was being unreasonable, Victoria continued, her voice shaking now. That I should be grateful. That most women would kill for the kind of partnership you were offering. But you know what I realized? You never once said you loved me. Not during the proposal, not during the engagement, not even when I called it off and you acted like I'd torpedoed a merger instead of ending a relationship. Victoria, Patricia started. No, Mother. No more pretending. No more acting like I'm the one who failed because I didn't want to be someone's strategic acquisition. She turned to Caleb, and her eyes were bright with unshed tears. I need air. Real air. Not this. She gestured at the room. Please. Caleb was on his feet before she finished the sentence. Of course. They left the table in chaos. Patricia's voice rose behind them. Marcus said something Caleb couldn't hear, but Victoria was already moving, weaving through tables toward the terrace doors with Caleb close behind. The cold hit harder this time. The snow had picked up, thick white flakes that blurred the city below into abstract impressionism. Victoria walked straight to the railing and gripped it like she was trying to strangle the metal. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have. That wasn't part of the plan. I just. Don't apologize. I ruined everything. The whole point of tonight was to show them I was fine, that I'd moved on, and instead Her voice broke. Instead, I proved them all right. I'm exactly what they think I am. Too cold. Too difficult. Too broken to let anyone actually love me. That's not what I saw. Then what did you see? She whirled on him, and the tears were falling now, tracking through her makeup. Tell me, Caleb, what did you see? I saw someone finally telling the truth. I saw someone refusing to pretend anymore. I saw someone brave enough to choose herself, even when everyone else told her she was wrong. Brave, she laughed, bitter and broken. I hired you. I'm paying you $50,000 to stand here and tell me I'm not a complete disaster. That's not brave. That's pathetic. You want to know what's pathetic? I'll tell you. Caleb closed the distance between them. Pathetic is spending 2 years telling myself I was fine when I was drowning. Pathetic is using my daughter as an excuse to never let anyone in because being alone was safer than risking the kind of pain I felt when Sarah died. Pathetic is standing in a break room at 3 a.m, eating vending machine dinners because going home to an empty house felt like admitting she was really gone. Victoria stared at him. Snow collected in her hair, on her shoulders, melting against the heat of her skin. I took this job for the money, Caleb continued, but I'm standing here right now because somewhere between your office and this terrace, I stopped pretending. And I think you did too. We barely know each other. I know you cry when you think no one's watching. I know you keep a dead plant in your apartment because throwing it away feels like giving up. I know you built an empire because being perfect was the only way you could prove you were worth loving. And I know that right now, standing here in a snowstorm, you're more real than you've been in years. How do you know about the plant? I notice things. Victoria's breath came in short, sharp gasps. This isn't real. We're not real. Aren't we? You're being paid to be here. The money got me through the door. He gestured between them. This is something else. What is it then? What is this? Caleb didn't have an answer. Didn't have words for the way his chest tightened when she looked at him, for the way her broken edges seemed to fit against his own, for the terrifying realization that somewhere in the last 24 hours, Victoria Hale had stopped being his boss and started being something he couldn't name. I don't know, he admitted, but I know it scares the hell out of me. And I know that when Marcus looked at you like you were a business deal he'd lost, I wanted to punch him. And I know that right now, standing here with you, I'm not thinking about the money at all. You should be. $50,000 is life-changing. So is this. The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Victoria shook her head. You don't understand. You can't. I don't know how to do this, how to let someone in, how to be anything other than what I've built myself into. I don't know how to be vulnerable without it feeling like weakness. I don't know how to need someone without resenting them for it. I don't, her voice cracked. I don't know how to be loved. Then let me teach you. You can't teach someone that. Maybe not, but I can show you what it looks like, what it feels like to be seen and not run, to be broken and not be alone. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away a tear. You're not unlovable, Victoria. You're just scared. And that's okay. I'm scared too. Of what? Of this. Of feeling something real when I swore I'd never let myself again. Of looking at you and seeing someone I could... He stopped. Too much. Too fast. Could what? Fall for, he finished quietly. Someone I could fall for if I let myself. If I was brave enough to try. Victoria's eyes searched his face like she was looking for the lie, for the angle, for the part where this became another transaction. She wouldn't find it. Because somewhere between the conference room and the terrace, between the rehearsed story and the raw truth, Caleb had crossed a line he hadn't meant to cross. I can't give you what you want, Victoria whispered. I can't be someone's happy ending. I'm too damaged. I don't want a happy ending. I want real. I want someone who understands what it's like to keep moving when everything's broken. I want someone who doesn't expect perfect because perfect doesn't exist. He stopped himself. I want to know if what I'm feeling right now is completely insane, or if you feel it too. Feel what? Instead of answering, Caleb kissed her. It wasn't planned, wasn't part of the agreement, but her lips were cold from the wind and soft against his, and when she gasped in surprise, something inside him that had been frozen for 2 years suddenly remembered how to burn. Victoria went rigid for half a second. Then she melted into him, hands fisting in his jacket, kissing him back with a desperation that felt like drowning and surfacing all at once. The snow fell around them. The city hummed below. Inside the ballroom, her family was probably talking about them, judging them, writing them off. None of it mattered. Because Victoria Hale, untouchable, unreachable, perfect Victoria Hale, was kissing him like he was oxygen, and she'd been holding her breath for years. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Victoria's carefully constructed mask was completely gone. She looked young and terrified and more beautiful than anything he'd ever seen. That was, she started. Real, Caleb finished. That was real. We shouldn't have... I know. This complicates everything. I know. I still don't know how to do this. Neither do I. Caleb rested his forehead against hers. But maybe we figure it out together. Maybe that's enough. Victoria's laugh was shaky. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both. She pulled back just enough to look at him properly. What happens now? Now we go back inside. We finish this night. And then you tell me the truth. Like we agreed. All of it. Not just about Marcus or your family. About why you're really so afraid of letting someone in. Victoria's expression shuddered slightly. That's a long story. I've got time. Do you? You have a daughter, Caleb, a life, responsibilities. I'm not asking you to fit into my life. I'm asking you to let me see yours, the real one, not the version you show the world. She studied him for a long moment. And if you don't like what you see, then at least I'll have seen it. At least we'll both know. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. But I don't think I'm going to run. I think I'm already in too deep to walk away now. That's the problem, Victoria said quietly. So am I. The terrace door opened behind them. Patricia stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow of the ballroom, her expression somewhere between concern and fury. Victoria, what on earth is going on? You embarrassed Marcus in front of everyone. His wife is in tears. You owe them an apology. Victoria stiffened in Caleb's arms. The walls started to rebuild themselves. He could feel it happening. No, he said quietly, just for her. She glanced at him. What? You don't owe them anything. Not an apology, not an explanation. Nothing. Caleb, that's my family. And they've been making you feel like you're not enough your entire life. When does that stop? Victoria's eyes widened. Then something shifted in her expression, something that looked like the moment before a dam breaks. She turned to face her mother, still holding Caleb's hand. "I'm not apologizing, Mother. Not to Marcus. Not to you. Not to anyone." Patricia's face hardened. "You're being childish." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally being honest. Marcus proposed to me like I was a merger he was negotiating. You've spent 3 years acting like I made the biggest mistake of my life by choosing my company over a marriage that would have destroyed me. And I'm done pretending that's okay." "Victoria, lower your voice. People are listening. Let them listen. Let them all hear that your daughter chose herself over their approval, and she's not sorry. You're throwing away your reputation for what? For him?" Patricia's gaze cut to Caleb with barely concealed disdain. "A man you barely know. Someone who doesn't even belong in this world?" "You're right," Victoria said. "He doesn't belong in this world. Thank God for that. Because this world has done nothing but make me feel worthless unless I'm achieving something, unless I'm being what you all expect. And I'm exhausted, Mother. I'm so tired of being perfect." "So you'd rather be alone?" "I'd rather be real." Patricia's expression cracked just for a second. Something that might have been hurt flashed in her eyes. "I only wanted what was best for you. You wanted what was easiest, what looked good on paper. You never once asked me what I wanted." "And what do you want, Victoria? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're sabotaging yourself again." Victoria's grip on Caleb's hand tightened. "I want to leave. I want to walk out of here with someone who sees me as more than a portfolio to manage or a daughter to fix. I want to stop performing, and I want you to understand that I'm not broken just because I didn't follow your script." Patricia was silent for a long moment. "If you walk out now, you're making a statement you can't take back." "Good. Maybe it's time." Mother and daughter stared at each other across the terrace. Years of unspoken conflicts and unmet expectations hung between them like ghosts. Finally, Patricia spoke. "He's not good enough for you." "That's not your decision to make anymore." Patricia's mouth thinned. Then she turned and walked back inside without another word. Victoria sagged against Caleb like all the strength had just drained out of her. "Did I just burn every bridge? Yeah, pretty much." "Oh, God." She pressed her face against his shoulder. "What did I just do?" "You chose yourself. You were right. It was time." "I don't feel right. I feel like I'm going to throw up." "That's normal. Healthy, even." Caleb rubbed circles on her back. "Do you want to go back inside? Try to smooth things over?" Victoria pulled back, and despite the tears, despite the smeared makeup, she was smiling. "No, I really don't. I want to leave. I want to get out of this dress. I want to drink wine that doesn't cost $300 a bottle. And I want to have that conversation we promised each other. The real one. Then let's go." They walked back through the ballroom hand in hand. Conversation stopped as they passed. Patricia sat at the family table, back rigid. Marcus watched them with an expression Caleb couldn't read. Amanda had disappeared, probably to powder her nose or whatever people did at weddings like this when things got uncomfortable. Victoria didn't look at any of them, just walked straight through like they were ghosts. The valet brought the car around. They climbed into the back, and as Chicago blurred past the windows, Victoria finally exhaled. "I can't believe I just did that." "Having regrets?" "No, that's the terrifying part. I should be panicking. I should be calling my mother and apologizing. But all I feel is..." She paused. "Relief. Like I've been holding my breath for 3 years and I can finally breathe again." Caleb laced his fingers through hers. "So breathe." She did. Deep and shaky and real. The car pulled up to her building. They rode the elevator in silence, the air between them charged with everything that had happened and everything that was about to. Victoria's apartment felt different now, less like a showroom and more like a place where someone actually lived. She kicked off her heels the moment they crossed the threshold, immediately losing 3 inches of height. "Wine?" she offered. "Whatever you've got." She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a bottle that probably did cost $300 and 2 glasses. They settled on the couch, the same couch where they'd rehearsed their story a few hours ago, when everything had still been pretend. "Truth time," Victoria said, pouring wine with slightly shaking hands. "That was the deal, right? After the wedding, I tell you everything." That was the deal. She took a long drink. Where do you want me to start? Start with why you're so afraid of being loved. Victoria flinched. I'm not afraid of being loved. Yes, you are. I can see it every time someone gets close. Every time things feel real. You start building walls. Maybe the walls keep me safe. From what? She was quiet for a long time. The snow continued falling outside, turning the city into something soft and distant. My father, she finally said. He was the only person who ever looked at me and saw me. Not his daughter, not an asset, just me. He built Meridian from nothing, taught me everything about business, about strategy, about building something that lasted. And when I was 25, he had a heart attack in the middle of a board meeting, died before the ambulance arrived. I'm sorry. Everyone said it was the stress, the work, that he'd killed himself building something that didn't matter. And my mother, she blamed the company, blamed me for wanting to follow in his footsteps instead of finding a nice man and settling down. She told me I was making the same mistake he did, choosing ambition over living. So you tried to prove her wrong. So I tried to prove everyone wrong. I took over the company, grew it, made it successful. And somewhere along the way, I forgot how to be anything other than successful. Work became the only place I felt like I mattered, the only place where being perfect was enough. And then Marcus proposed. Victoria nodded. He was everything my mother wanted for me. Successful, appropriate. But he looked at me the same way he looked at quarterly projections, like I was something to optimize. And I realized if I married him, I'd spend the rest of my life being managed instead of loved. So I called it off. That took courage. It took fear. Fear that if I went through with it, I'd wake up 20 years later and realize I'd traded everything real for something that just looked good on paper. She drained her wine glass. But breaking the engagement didn't make me any better at letting people in. It just confirmed what I already knew. I'm not built for relationships. I'm too controlling, too difficult, too human, Caleb interrupted. You're too human. And that scares you because being human means being vulnerable, means admitting you need people. I don't know how to need people without resenting them for it. Then start small. Start with me. Victoria looked at him. What if I fail? What if I let you in and I'm still not enough? Then we deal with it, together. He set down his wine glass and took her hands. Look, I'm not going to stand here and promise you perfect. I'm a single dad who can barely keep up with laundry. I work too much. I'm probably going to disappoint you. But I'm here, right now, real, and that's more than either of us had this morning. You kissed me. I did. That wasn't part of the deal. No, that was me being selfish. Me wanting something real even though it terrifies me. Are you still scared? Absolutely, but I'm also sitting here, with you. That counts for something. Victoria leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. I don't know what happens next. Neither do I. But we can figure it out. One day at a time, one truth at a time. He paused. Starting with this one, I don't want the $50,000. She pulled back. What? I don't want it. Keep it. Donate it. I don't care. Because if I take it, this becomes a transaction. And I don't want this to be something I did for money. Caleb, you need that money. I need this more. He cupped her face. I need to know that when I wake up tomorrow and think about tonight, it's real. That you're real. That this feeling in my chest isn't something I bought or you paid for. Tears spilled down Victoria's cheeks. You're an idiot. Probably. $50,000 could change your life. So could you. She kissed him then. Not desperate like on the terrace. Not charged with adrenaline and rebellion. Just soft and real and full of possibility. When they broke apart, Victoria was smiling. I have no idea what I'm doing. That makes two of us. This could be a disaster. Most good things are disasters first. She laughed, and it sounded like something unlocking inside her. Stay, tonight. Not like that. Just stay. I don't want to be alone. Okay. They stayed on the couch. Victoria curled against him, the city glowing beyond the windows. No promises, no plans. Just two broken people choosing to be broken together instead of alone. And somewhere in the quiet, between the snow and the truth, something new began to grow. Caleb woke to unfamiliar silence and light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows he didn't own. For a disoriented second, he couldn't remember where he was. Then he felt the weight of Victoria's head on his shoulder, her breathing soft and even against his neck, and everything from the night before came rushing back. The wedding, the terrace, the kiss that had changed everything. His phone buzzed on the coffee table where he'd left it. He reached for it carefully, trying not to wake Victoria. 3 missed calls from his sister, 7 texts. The most recent. Caleb, where are you? Emma's asking. Call me. He checked the time. 6:47 a.m. He'd promised Emma he'd be home for breakfast. Victoria stirred against him, making a small sound of protest as he shifted. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused and vulnerable in a way he'd never seen before. Then awareness crept in, and he watched her remember. The wedding, what she'd said to her mother, what had happened between them on this couch. Morning, he said quietly. She sat up, immediately putting distance between them. Old habits. What time is it? Almost 7. You need to go, your daughter. Yeah. He stood, his suit wrinkled beyond saving. I'll call a car. Take mine. The driver's downstairs. He'll get you home. Victoria pulled the blanket around herself like armor. Caleb, about last night. Don't. Don't what? Don't do this. Don't pretend it didn't mean anything. Don't rebuild the walls just because it's morning and reality's back. She looked away. I wasn't going to. Yes, you were. I can see it happening. You're already planning your retreat. That's not fair. Isn't it? He crossed back to the couch, kneeling in front of her so she had to look at him. Last night you told me you were tired of performing. You walked out on your entire family. You let me see you, really see you, and now you're sitting there trying to figure out how to take it all back. I'm not... She stopped, took a breath. This is complicated. I know. You have a daughter, a life that doesn't include spontaneous decisions and emotionally damaged CEOs. Emma's 6. Her entire life is spontaneous decisions, and you're not damaged. You're human. Caleb, you need to think about this. Really think about it. Last night was intense, emotional. We both got caught up in something that felt real in the moment, but it was real. It is real. Stop trying to explain it away. Victoria's composure cracked. What do you want me to say? That I'm terrified? That I woke up this morning and my first thought was how badly I'm going to screw this up? That I don't know how to be what you need? I don't need you to be anything except honest. That's it. That's all I'm asking. I'm trying to be practical. No, you're trying to protect yourself. There's a difference. He took her hands. Look, I get it. I spent 2 years doing the same thing, telling myself I was fine alone, that Emma was enough, that letting someone in was too risky. But last night, sitting here with you, I felt something I haven't felt since Sarah died. Like maybe I could be more than just a dad struggling to get by. Like maybe I could be someone who deserves something good. You do deserve something good. That's why you should walk away now, before I ruin it. You don't get to make that choice for me. Caleb... His phone rang. His sister's name flashed on the screen. He answered. Finally, Rachel said. Where the hell are you? It's complicated. Is Emma okay? She's fine, watching cartoons, asking when you're coming home. I told her you'd be here for breakfast, remember? I know. I'm on my way. 20 minutes. Are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine. I'll explain later. Just tell Emma I'm bringing donuts. Donuts aren't breakfast. Today they are. He hung up and looked at Victoria. I have to go. She nodded, not meeting his eyes. Of course. This conversation isn't over. I know. I mean it, Victoria. Don't disappear on me. Don't hide behind work or excuses or whatever defense mechanism feels safest. We're going to talk about this. Really talk. When? Tonight. After Emma's asleep. I'll come back here. Or you can come to my place. It's a mess and nothing like this, but I'll come to you. The words came out quiet but steady. If you're sure. I'm sure. He kissed her forehead, resisting the urge to kiss her mouth because if he started, He wouldn't stop. Then he grabbed his coat and left before the moment could turn into something that made him late. Victoria's driver didn't ask questions, just drove through early morning streets still clogged with snow. Caleb stared out the window and tried to process everything that had happened in less than 24 hours. Yesterday morning, he'd been a product analyst with no prospects and a future that looked like an endless grind of barely making it. Now he was, what, dating his boss? Involved with Victoria Hale? The woman who'd cried in her office and kissed him on a terrace and let him see the broken parts she kept hidden from the world? His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Thank you. For last night, for not running, for being real. He typed back. Thank you for letting me in. See you tonight. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, I'm scared. Me too. That's how I know it matters. The car pulled up to his building, nothing like Victoria's high-rise, just a modest apartment complex in a neighborhood that was trying hard to be gentrified and not quite making it. Caleb thanked the driver and headed inside. Rachel opened the door before he could get his key out. You look like hell. Good morning to you too. Seriously, what happened? You were supposed to be home last night. You don't answer your phone. You show up in yesterday's suit looking like you haven't slept. Should I be worried? No. Maybe. I don't know. He walked past her into the apartment. Emma sat on the couch in her pajamas, transfixed by cartoons. Hey, sweetheart. She turned and her face lit up. Daddy! He scooped her up, holding her tight. This was real. This was what mattered. You smell different, Emma said, like fancy perfume. Rachel raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? I had a work event. Fancy people wear fancy perfume. Was it fun? It was complicated, but interesting. He set Emma down. How about those donuts I promised? Chocolate with sprinkles? Is there any other kind? Rachel followed him into the kitchen while Emma returned to her cartoons. Spill, now. There's nothing to spill. You're a terrible liar. You smell like expensive perfume, and you have that look. What look? The look guys get when they've met someone. Sarah used to tell me about that look. You had it when you first started dating her. Haven't seen it since she died. Rachel leaned against the counter. So who is she? Caleb ran a hand through his hair. It's complicated. You said that already. Complicated how? Complicated like she's my boss. Complicated like 24 hours ago I barely knew her and now I can't stop thinking about her. Complicated like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. Rachel stared at him. Your boss. You're involved with your boss. Not exactly. Maybe. I don't know what we are yet. Does she know about Emma? Yes. She knows everything. About Sarah, about the bills, about all of it. And she's okay with that? With you being a single dad? She hasn't run yet. That counts for something. He grabbed his wallet. I need to get Emma those donuts. Can you stay until I get back? I have yoga in an hour. I'll be quick. The donut shop 3 blocks over knew his order by heart. Chocolate with sprinkles for Emma, coffee, and a plain glazed for him. He made it back in 15 minutes. Rachel was putting on her coat when he walked in. I have to run, but Caleb, be careful. I don't want to see you hurt again. I'm already hurt, have been for 2 years. Maybe it's time to risk hurting differently. She hugged him. Call me later, with details. After she left, Caleb sat with Emma at their small kitchen table. She attacked her donut with the enthusiasm only 6-year-olds could muster, chocolate smearing across her face. Daddy, are you happy? She asked between bites. The question caught him off guard. What makes you ask that? You smiled when you came in. You don't smile a lot anymore. The observation hit him like a punch to the gut. Had he really been that transparent, that obviously broken? I'm working on it, sweetheart. Being happy is hard sometimes. Because you miss Mommy? Yeah, because I miss Mommy. Emma was quiet for a moment, swinging her legs under the table. Aunt Rachel says Mommy would want you to be happy. Aunt Rachel's right. So is the fancy perfume lady making you happy? Caleb nearly choked on his coffee. How do you... You smell like her, and you smiled. Emma shrugged like it was obvious. If she makes you smile, she must be nice. She is nice, different, complicated. but nice. Can I meet her? Maybe, someday, if things, if we figure things out. Okay. Emma went back to her donut, the conversation apparently finished. But Caleb sat there, coffee going cold, thinking about what it would mean to let Victoria into this part of his life, to introduce her to Emma, to merge his chaotic, messy reality with her pristine, controlled world. It should have terrified him. Instead, it felt inevitable. His phone buzzed throughout the day. Work emails. Nothing from Victoria until almost noon. I talked to my mother. It went about as well as expected. Want to talk about it tonight? Yes. Also dreading it. Also can't stop thinking about you. This is confusing. Tell me about it. Emma asked if she could meet you. Several minutes passed. Then, what did you say? I said maybe someday. Too fast? No. Terrifying, but no. I want to meet her. Eventually. When we're not so confused? Exactly. The day crawled. Caleb tried to focus on Emma, on normal Saturday things. They built a fort out of couch cushions, watched movies, made grilled cheese for lunch, but his mind kept drifting back to Victoria, to the way she'd kissed him, the way she'd looked at him like he was something worth keeping. By 7 p.m., Emma was asleep. Caleb had read her 3 bedtime stories, dragging it out because he was nervous. Actually nervous. Like a teenager before a first date. His apartment was a disaster. Toys scattered across the living room, dishes in the sink, nothing like Victoria's minimalist perfection. He did what he could, cleaned the worst of it, changed into jeans and a sweater that didn't smell like yesterday's formal event, tried not to panic. Victoria arrived at 8, dressed in jeans and a simple black sweater that probably cost more than his couch, but looked almost normal. She stood in his doorway holding a bottle of wine and looking as nervous as he felt. "Hi," she said. "Hi, come in. It's nothing like your place." "Good. Your place doesn't make me feel like I'm living in a museum." She stepped inside, taking in the toy fort, the kid drawings on the fridge, the lived-in chaos. "This is real." That's one word for it. She handed him the wine. I didn't know what to bring. Wine felt safe. Wine's perfect. Though I should warn you, my wine glasses are from Target, and one of them has a chip. Even better. They settled on the couch, the same couch Emma had napped on that afternoon. Caleb poured wine into mismatched glasses and tried to remember how to breathe normally. "So," Victoria said, we're doing this. Having the conversation. Looks like it. I don't know where to start." "Start with your mother. You said you talked to her." Victoria took a long drink. "She called this morning, told me I embarrassed the family, that Marcus's wife cried for an hour, that I need to apologize and fix this." "What did you say?" "I told her no, that I was done apologizing for being myself, that if she couldn't accept that, then we needed some distance." Her hand shook slightly. "She hung up on me. My mother has never hung up on me." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It needed to happen. I've spent my entire life trying to be what she wanted, and it was never enough. Last night it was me finally choosing myself, even if it means losing her for a while. It won't be forever." "You don't know that." "No, but I know that people who love you find their way back, eventually, even if the road's rough." Victoria set down her wine glass and turned to face him. "Caleb, I need you to understand something. I'm not good at this. At relationships. At letting people in. I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to push you away when things get hard because that's what I do. I'm going to work too much and forget to call and probably make you feel like you're not important when you absolutely are." "Okay. That's it? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say? That I'm perfect? I'm not. I'm going to be exhausted from parenting. I'm going to cancel plans because Emma's sick. I'm going to have days where I can barely keep it together, and I'm going to disappoint you." "You won't." "I will, but that's what this is. 2 imperfect people trying to figure out how to fit together without destroying each other." Victoria looked at him for a long moment. "When did you get so wise?" 2 years of therapy and a 6-year-old who asks uncomfortable questions. She laughed, and the sound was genuine. "I talked to my lawyer today about the $50,000. Victoria, I told you, I know what you told me, but you're going to take it anyway. I'm not. Yes, you are. Because it's not payment anymore. It's me making sure you and Emma are taken care of. It's me doing something good with money I don't need. And it's me showing you that I can think about someone other than myself. She took his hand. Please, let me do this. For Emma, if not for you. Caleb's throat tightened. That's not fair. Life's not fair. Take the money. Put it toward college. Pay off bills. I don't care. But don't refuse it because you're trying to prove something. He wanted to argue, to insist he could handle things on his own. But the truth was, $50,000 would change everything. For Emma. For their future. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me. Just don't disappear. Don't give up on this before we've even started. I could say the same to you. I know. That's why I'm here. In your apartment, that's nothing like mine. Drinking wine from Target glasses. Meeting you halfway. Caleb kissed her. Soft and slow and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling. I should probably go soon, she said. Early meeting tomorrow. It's Saturday night. Welcome to my life. Victoria, I know. Work-life balance. It's on the list of things I'm terrible at. Then stay. Just for a little while longer. Emma won't wake up, and I'm not ready for you to leave yet. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, a little while longer. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. About Sarah, and how grief never really left, just changed shape. About Victoria's father, and the pressure of living up to his legacy. About Emma's upcoming birthday, and what it meant to parent alone. About fear and hope, and the terrifying possibility that maybe they could actually make this work. Somewhere around midnight, Victoria fell asleep against his shoulder. Caleb didn't wake her, just sat there, feeling the rise and fall of her breathing, and let himself believe that maybe this was the start of something real. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Marcus. We need to talk. About Victoria. About what you're really after. Meet me Monday, my office, noon. Don't tell her. Caleb's blood ran cold. He stared at the message, debating whether to wake Victoria. To tell her that her ex-fiancé was already circling, already trying to interfere. Instead, he deleted the message and pulled the blanket over both of them. Monday would come soon enough. Tonight, he just wanted to hold on to this moment. This fragile, imperfect, real moment where everything still felt possible. Victoria stirred, eyes opening slowly. I fell asleep. You did. I should go. You should, but I don't want you to. She sat up, hair mussed and makeup faded and more beautiful than he'd ever seen her. This is happening, isn't it? We're actually doing this. Looks like it. I'm going to screw it up. Probably. I'll screw it up too. We'll take turns. She laughed, and it sounded like relief. When did I become someone who takes risks? Last night, on a terrace, in a snowstorm, when you chose yourself over everyone's expectations. Best decision I ever made. She kissed him again, and this time there was no hesitation, no fear, just two people choosing each other despite all the reasons they shouldn't. When she finally left, Caleb stood in his doorway and watched her car disappear into the night. His apartment felt emptier without her, but for the first time in 2 years, empty didn't feel the same as alone. His phone buzzed again. Victoria. Thank you for tonight. For Emma's fort. For terrible wine glasses. For being exactly what I needed. He typed back. Thank you for taking the risk. For meeting me halfway. For not running. I'm still terrified. Me too. But we're terrified together. That counts for something. It counts for everything. Good night, Caleb. Good night, Victoria. He checked on Emma one more time. She slept peacefully, surrounded by stuffed animals and dreams that didn't include loss or fear or any of the things that kept adults awake at night. Caleb climbed into his own bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about Marcus's message, about the confrontation that was coming, about all the ways this could fall apart before it even really began. But he also thought about the way Victoria had looked at him tonight, the way she'd laughed in his apartment, the way she'd let herself be vulnerable in a space that wasn't controlled or perfect, and he made a choice. Whatever Marcus wanted to say, whatever threats or warnings or manipulations he had planned, Caleb would face them, because Victoria was worth fighting for. This fragile, terrifying, real thing between them was worth protecting, even if it meant stepping into territory where he didn't belong, even if it meant standing up to people with more power and money and influence than he'd ever have. Because somewhere between a conference room and a terrace, between $50,000 and a kiss that changed everything, Caleb Rhodes had stopped being just a product analyst trying to survive. He'd become someone willing to fight for something that mattered, and that made all the difference. Monday morning arrived with the kind of gray sky that made Chicago feel like it was trapped under a concrete dome. Caleb dropped Emma at school, kissed her forehead, and watched her run toward the building with her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Normal. Everything needed to look normal. But his phone felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket. Marcus's message sat in his deleted folder, but the words were branded into his memory. Noon, Marcus's office. Don't tell her. He should tell Victoria. Should warn her that her ex-fiancé was circling like a shark who'd smelled blood in the water. But something stopped him. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the need to prove he could handle this world she lived in. Maybe it was just stupidity. Work was a blur. Caleb sat at his desk on the 4th floor, pretending to analyze spreadsheets while his mind replayed every moment from Saturday night. Victoria's laugh in his apartment, the way she'd looked at Emma's drawings on the fridge, the kiss that had felt like a promise. At 11:30, he left the building. Told his supervisor he had a doctor's appointment. The lie came easier than it should have. Marcus's office was in one of those buildings where even the lobby felt like a test you were already failing. All glass and steel and people in suits that cost more than Caleb's monthly rent. The receptionist looked at him like he'd tracked mud across imported marble. I'm here to see Marcus Caldwell. Name? Caleb Rhodes. She typed something, eyebrows raising slightly. He's expecting you, 42nd floor. Someone will meet you at the elevator. The elevator ride felt like ascending into enemy territory. When the doors opened, an assistant in her 20s stood waiting with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Rhodes, this way. Marcus's office made Victoria's look modest. Corner suite, windows on 2 walls, furniture that probably required its own insurance policy. And Marcus himself, standing by the window, looking every inch the venture capitalist who'd built an empire on knowing exactly which companies to acquire and which to let die. Caleb, thanks for coming. Marcus didn't offer to shake hands, just gestured to a chair. Sit. Caleb remained standing. What do you want? Direct. I like that. Saves time. Marcus moved to his desk, leaning against it casually. I want to talk about Victoria. There's nothing to talk about. I think there is. See, I know Victoria, known her for years, and I know when she's making a mistake. Let me guess. I'm the mistake. You're a complication she doesn't need right now. Victoria has a tendency to self-sabotage when things get hard. She runs. She finds someone completely unsuitable and uses them as proof that she's not meant for commitment. Then she buries herself in work and pretends she's fine. That's not what's happening here. Isn't it? Let's look at the facts. You're a product analyst, single father, barely making ends meet by all accounts. No offense, but you're not exactly in Victoria's league. If you're trying to make me feel small, you're going to have to try harder. I already know I don't belong in your world. Then why are you here? Because she asked me to be. Because somewhere between your perfect proposal and her walking away, Victoria learned that belonging has nothing to do with money or status or whatever measuring stick you're using. Marcus's expression hardened. I'm trying to save you both from a disaster. Victoria doesn't do relationships. She does transactions. She used you to make a point at that wedding, and now she's in too deep to back out gracefully. Give it a month, maybe 2. She'll get bored or scared or both, and you'll be left explaining to your daughter why the nice lady isn't coming around anymore. The mention of Emma made Caleb's blood boil. You don't know anything about my daughter. I know she's 6. I know she lost her mother. I know the last thing she needs is getting attached to someone who's going to disappear when Victoria inevitably runs. Marcus pulled an envelope from his desk drawer. Which is why I'm offering you an out. $50,000, the same amount Victoria promised you. Walk away now. Clean break. She'll be hurt for a while, but she'll move on. She always does. Caleb stared at the envelope. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. You think I'm here for money? Everyone's here for something. Not everyone. Some people are just here because they care. Caleb stepped closer. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you except for you to stay out of this. I'm trying to protect her. No, you're trying to control her. Same thing you did when you proposed during a board meeting. Same thing you're doing now. But Victoria doesn't need protection from me. She needs someone who sees her as a person instead of a portfolio. Marcus's jaw tightened. You're going to hurt her. Maybe, but at least I'll be honest about it. Can you say the same? I loved her. Did you? Because from where I'm standing, you loved what she represented. The merger, the power couple, the perfect image. But did you ever love Victoria? The real one who cries in empty offices and keeps dead plants because throwing them away feels like giving up? Marcus was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, quieter. She told you about the plant. She shows me things, real things, not the version she thinks I want to see. And you think that's enough? That seeing her broken parts makes you qualified to fix her? I don't want to fix her. I want to be with her. There's a difference. Caleb turned toward the door. Thanks for the offer, but I'm not interested in taking shortcuts. Caleb. Marcus's voice stopped him. When she runs, and she will run, don't say I didn't warn you. If she runs, I'll follow. That's what you do when you care about someone. You don't give them an easy out and call it love. He left before Marcus could respond. The elevator ride down felt like exhaling after holding his breath underwater. His phone buzzed as he hit the lobby. Victoria, lunch? I'm drowning in quarterly projections and need a reason to escape. Where? That sandwich place near your building. The one with terrible coffee and amazing pastrami. See you in 20. Caleb made it in 15. Victoria was already there, tucked into a corner booth, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his car payment, but looking somehow softer than usual. She smiled when she saw him, and something in his chest unclenched. Hey, she said as he slid into the booth across from her. Hey yourself. Quarterly projections that bad? Worse. But you're here, so it's already better. She studied his face. Something happened. What's wrong? He should tell her, should be honest. But looking at her sitting there, choosing him over work in the middle of a Monday, he couldn't bring himself to drag Marcus into this moment. Just work stress, nothing important. Victoria didn't look convinced, but she let it go. I talked to my mother again this morning. How'd that go? About as well as expected. She's still demanding I apologize to Marcus and Amanda, still acting like I committed some unforgivable sin by choosing myself. Victoria traced patterns on the table with her finger. But I didn't call to make peace. I called to tell her I'm seeing someone, really seeing someone, and that she needed to know because I'm not hiding anymore. Caleb's throat went dry. What did she say? She asked who. I told her his name was Caleb Rhodes, that he works at my company, that he has a 6-year-old daughter, that I met him during a snowstorm and he saw me fall apart and didn't run. Victoria looked up, and her eyes were bright. She told me I was making another mistake, that I was rushing into something I'd regret, and I told her that maybe rushing was better than never moving at all. Victoria, I'm done letting her dictate my life, Caleb. Done letting anyone tell me what I should want or who I should be. If this is a mistake, it's my mistake to make. He reached across the table and took her hand. It's not a mistake. You can't know that. Neither can you, but we're doing it anyway. That counts for something. Their food arrived. They ate and talked about everything except the big things. Emma's upcoming birthday party. A new product line Meridian was developing. The weather forecast predicting more snow. Normal things that felt extraordinary because they were together. When lunch ended, Victoria walked him back toward his building. They stopped on the corner and she kissed him right there on the street, in public, where anyone from Meridian could see, where the world could watch the Ice Queen melting. Tonight? She asked when they pulled apart. Your place again? I'll bring dinner. You don't have to. I want to. I want to see Emma, meet her properly, if that's okay. Caleb's heart did something complicated. Are you sure? Meeting the kid it's a big step. I know, I'm terrified, but I'm doing it anyway. She smiled. Besides, I already know she likes donuts with sprinkles. That's a good start. How do you... You told me. Saturday night. You were half asleep, but you told me. Victoria squeezed his hand. I pay attention, Caleb, to the things that matter. She left him standing on the corner feeling like he'd just won something he didn't know he was competing for. The rest of the day crawled. Caleb tried to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting. To Marcus's warning, to Victoria's courage in telling her mother, to the fact that tonight she'd meet Emma. The two most important parts of his life would collide, and he had no idea if they'd fit together or explode. He picked Emma up from school at 3. She chattered about her day the entire walk home, something about finger painting and a boy named Tyler who ate paste. "Daddy, can we have pizza for dinner?" she asked as they climbed the stairs to their apartment. "Actually, we're having a guest tonight. Someone special wants to meet you." Emma's eyes went wide. "The fancy perfume lady?" Caleb stopped mid-step. "How did you— You talked about her on Saturday, when you were making breakfast. You said her name was Victoria, and she made you smile." Emma shrugged. "I listen good." "You listen well. And yes, Victoria's coming for dinner. Is that okay?" "Is she your girlfriend?" The word felt foreign, too simple for what Victoria was becoming, but Emma needed simple. "Yeah, I think so. Maybe. We're figuring it out." "Does she like kids?" "I don't know. But she wants to meet you. That's a good sign." Emma considered this with the seriousness only 6-year-olds could muster. "Okay, but she has to like mac and cheese. That's important. I'll make sure to tell her." Victoria arrived at 6:30 with enough takeout to feed a small army and a nervousness that radiated off her in waves. She stood in the doorway wearing jeans and a sweater, holding bags of Chinese food and looking more unsure than Caleb had ever seen her. "I didn't know what Emma liked, so I got everything," she said. "Fried rice, lo mein, dumplings, egg rolls. I might have overdone it." "You definitely overdid it. Come in." Emma peeked out from behind the couch where she'd been building another fort. She stared at Victoria with wide, assessing eyes. Victoria knelt down slowly. "Hi. You must be Emma. I'm Victoria." "You smell like fancy perfume," Emma said. "Is that okay?" "I guess." "Do you like mac and cheese?" Victoria glanced at Caleb, confused. He mouthed, "Just say yes." "I love mac and cheese," Victoria said. "The kind from the box with the orange powder is the best." Emma's face lit up. "That's my favorite too. Daddy says it's not real food, but he's wrong." "Daddy's wrong about a lot of things," Victoria said, smiling. "Don't tell him I said that." Emma giggled. And just like that, the tension broke. They ate dinner at the small kitchen table, Emma monopolizing the conversation with stories about school and her stuffed animals, and the elaborate backstory she'd created for each one. Victoria listened like Emma was delivering a keynote speech, asking questions and laughing in all the right places. After dinner, Emma dragged Victoria to her room to show off her art collection. Caleb cleaned up, listening to their voices drift from down the hall. Emma explaining her drawings, Victoria asking about colors and techniques like she was discussing a gallery exhibition. When they emerged 20 minutes later, Emma was holding Victoria's hand. "Victoria says I'm a very good artist," Emma announced. "She says I have an eye for composition. That means I'm good at making things look right." "Victoria's very smart," Caleb said. "She also promised to take me to a real art museum sometime, if that's okay with you." Caleb looked at Victoria. She shrugged, smiling. "I might have gotten carried away." "The Art Institute has a great children's program," Victoria said. "I haven't been in years, but I thought, if you're okay with it, maybe we could go, all 3 of us." "Please, Daddy?" Emma's eyes were huge, pleading. Yeah, that sounds good." Emma cheered and hugged Victoria around the waist. Victoria froze for a second, clearly not used to spontaneous affection from small humans. Then she relaxed and hugged back, and Caleb had to look away because the sight of them together made his chest hurt in the best possible way. Bedtime came too soon. Emma insisted Victoria read her a story, and Victoria agreed despite looking terrified. Caleb stood in the doorway, watching Victoria navigate the bedtime routine with the careful precision of someone defusing a bomb. "You're really good at this," Emma said as Victoria tucked her in. "I've never done it before. I'm probably doing it wrong." "No, you're doing it right. You use the right voices for the characters. And you smell nice. Mommy used to smell nice too." Emma's voice got quieter. "I don't remember what she smelled like anymore, but I remember it was nice." Victoria's hand stilled on the blanket. I bet she was wonderful. Daddy says she was the best. He says she loved me more than anything. Emma looked up at Victoria. Do you love my daddy? The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Victoria glanced at Caleb. He tried to signal something, anything, but his brain had stopped working. I think I might, Victoria said slowly. It's still new, still scary, but yeah, I think I might. Emma nodded, satisfied. Good. He needs someone to love him. He's been sad for a really long time. Victoria kissed Emma's forehead, an instinctive gesture that surprised them both, and left the room quickly. Caleb finished tucking Emma in, his hands shaking. I like her, Daddy, Emma whispered. She can come back. Yeah? Yeah. She's not like Mommy, but that's okay. Nobody's going to be like Mommy, but Victoria's nice in a different way. Emma yawned. And she promised to teach me about art. That's important. Caleb kissed his daughter goodnight and found Victoria in the living room, pacing like a caged animal. I shouldn't have said that, she said before he could speak. About loving you. That was... Emma asked, and I panicked, and it just came out. And I know it's too soon and too fast, and... Caleb crossed the room and kissed her. She made a surprised sound against his mouth before melting into him. Did you mean it? He asked when they broke apart. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like. But when I'm with you, I feel less alone, less broken. Like maybe I'm not as damaged as I thought. She pressed her forehead against his chest. And seeing you with Emma tonight, watching you be a father, it made me want things I've never let myself want before. What kind of things? A life. A real one. Not just work and achievements and proving myself, but mornings and dinners and stupid arguments about whose turn it is to do dishes. Ordinary things that feel extraordinary because they're shared. She pulled back to look at him. I'm terrified I'm going to ruin this, that I'm going to push too hard or not enough or... Victoria, stop. You're not going to ruin anything. You can't know that. No. But I can choose to believe it anyway. I can choose to trust that we'll figure it out, together. That's what this is. Two people choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. She kissed him again, and this time it felt different, less desperate, more certain, like maybe they were both finally starting to believe this could work. I should go, she said eventually, let you get some sleep. Or you could stay. Caleb, just to sleep. Emma will probably come climbing into my bed around 2 a.m. anyway. She has nightmares sometimes. But you could stay. Be here in the morning. Let this be normal instead of something we're still testing. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but I need to leave early. Meeting at 7. I'll make coffee. The terrible kind Emma says tastes like dirt water. She laughed. Perfect. They settled on the couch, Victoria curled against him, and talked until the words ran out and silence felt comfortable instead of awkward. Around midnight, they moved to Caleb's bedroom. He lent her one of his old t-shirts. She looked ridiculous in it. The shirt hung to her knees and her hair was down, and she was completely without makeup or armor. She looked perfect. They climbed into bed, and Victoria fit against him like she'd been designed for that exact space. Like maybe they'd both been incomplete all this time and were only now remembering how to be whole. Thank you, she whispered into the darkness, for letting me in, for not giving up when I tried to push you away, for being patient while I figure out how to do this. Thank you for taking the risk, for meeting Emma, for being here. Is it always going to be this terrifying? Probably, but maybe that's how you know it matters. She was quiet for a moment. Caleb? Yeah? I love you, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what this is, and it scares me more than anything ever has. But I needed you to know. His arms tightened around her. I love you too. Have since that night in the conference room when I saw you break and you didn't try to hide it. I just didn't know it yet. That's probably not healthy, falling in love that fast. Nothing about us is probably healthy. But it's real. That's enough for me. Victoria fell asleep first, her breathing evening out against his chest. Caleb lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how much his life had changed in less than a week. Emma stirred around 2 a.m., padding into the room and stopping short when she saw Victoria. Is Victoria sleeping over? she whispered. Yeah, is that okay? Emma climbed into bed on Caleb's other side, careful not to wake Victoria. It's okay. I like her. She reads good. She reads well. Whatever. Can I stay too? Yeah, sweetheart. You can stay. So they slept like that. Caleb in the middle, Emma on one side, Victoria on the other. A makeshift family that didn't make sense on paper but felt right in all the ways that mattered. Morning came too soon. Victoria's alarm went off at 5:30, and she tried to slip out quietly, but Emma woke up. You're leaving? Emma asked, rubbing her eyes. I have work, but I'll come back, if that's okay. When? Victoria glanced at Caleb. How about dinner tomorrow? I could bring pizza. The fancy kind with vegetables that Daddy pretends you should eat. Okay, but can we also get the kind with just cheese? Deal. Emma hugged Victoria goodbye, and Caleb walked her to the door. They stood in the hallway, and for a moment, neither wanted to be the first to let go. This is real, right? Victoria asked. We're really doing this? We're really doing this. What happens now? Now we live. We make mistakes. We figure it out as we go. We choose each other every single day until it becomes automatic, until we can't remember what it was like before. That sounds terrifying and perfect. That's because it is. He kissed her forehead. Go, conquer your meeting. I'll see you tomorrow. She left, and Caleb watched until the elevator doors closed behind her. Then he went back inside to find Emma at the kitchen table, drawing. She's coming back tomorrow, right? Emma asked without looking up. Yeah, she's coming back. Good. I want to show her my dinosaur collection. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Victoria came for dinner 3 times a week. Sometimes she brought work, spreading papers across Caleb's coffee table while Emma did homework beside her. Sometimes they went out, the Art Institute like Victoria had promised, the zoo, the aquarium. Places Caleb had never been able to afford before. Victoria was careful with money, never flashy, never making Caleb feel small. But she quietly started picking up tabs, buying Emma art supplies, handling things in a way that felt like partnership instead of charity. They fought sometimes. Victoria worked too much. Caleb got defensive about parenting decisions. They had to learn each other's triggers, each other's boundaries. But they didn't run, even when it got hard, even when old patterns tried to reassert themselves. Victoria's mother reached out 6 weeks after the wedding, asked to meet for coffee. It was stilted and awkward, but it was a start. Patricia still didn't approve, but she was trying. That was something. Marcus sent one more message. Caleb deleted it without reading it. 3 months in, Victoria asked Caleb and Emma to move into her penthouse. The place was too big, too empty, and she was tired of being alone. Emma's reaction was enthusiastic. Caleb's was more cautious. Are you sure? He asked. That's a big step. I've never been more sure of anything. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want Emma's drawings on my fridge. I want this to be our home instead of just mine. If that's what you want too. It was. They moved in on a Saturday. Emma claimed the guest bedroom and immediately started planning how to decorate it. Caleb tried not to panic about living in a space that cost more than he'd make in 10 years. But Victoria made it easy. She didn't try to change everything at once. Just slowly let them fill the empty spaces. Let the perfection crack and become lived in. Let herself be less controlled and more human. 6 months after the wedding, Victoria came home early. She found Caleb in the kitchen, making dinner while Emma did homework at the counter. I did something, Victoria said, leaning against the doorway. Good something or bad something? Caleb asked, stirring pasta. I don't know yet. I stepped down as CEO. The spoon clattered against the pot. You what? Not completely. I'm staying on as chair of the board, but I hired someone else to run day-to-day operations. Someone younger, hungrier, someone who doesn't need to prove anything anymore. She crossed to him, taking his hands. I spent my whole life building that company, proving I was enough. And I realized I was using it to avoid living. So I'm choosing differently now. I'm choosing us. This. A life that includes work but isn't consumed by it. Victoria, you love that company. I do, but I love this more. I love you more. I love coming home and finding Emma's art projects scattered across the dining table. I love arguing with you about which streaming service to watch. I love being someone's partner instead of just someone's boss. She smiled. I'm choosing myself. But this time, choosing myself means choosing us. Caleb kissed her, tasting salt from tears he hadn't realized she was crying. I'm proud of you. Don't be. I'm still terrified I made the wrong choice, that I'll regret this in a year when I'm bored and restless, and then we'll figure it out, together, like always. Emma looked up from her homework. Does this mean Victoria will be home more? Yeah, Victoria said, a lot more. Good. I need help with my science project. Daddy's terrible at explaining photosynthesis. They laughed, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. This makeshift family that had started with a breakdown in a conference room and a fake relationship at a wedding. A year after they met, Caleb woke up to find Victoria already awake, watching him in the early morning light. What? He asked, voice rough with sleep. I was just thinking about how scared I was when I asked you to that wedding, how certain I was that I'd ruin everything, how convinced I was that I wasn't built for this. And now? Now I know I was right. I'm not built for this. Not naturally. But I'm learning. Every day. With you. With Emma. And it's better than being perfect. It's real. Yeah, it is. Caleb? Yeah? Will you marry me? He sat up so fast he nearly gave himself whiplash. What? Victoria smiled, nervous and hopeful and vulnerable. I know it's not traditional. I know I'm supposed to wait for you to ask. But I'm done waiting for permission to want things. I want you. I want this life. I want to make it official. So will you marry me? You're serious? Completely. I already talked to Emma. She helped me pick out a ring. It's in my nightstand. We were going to do this whole elaborate thing, but I couldn't wait. She pulled out a simple band. Nothing flashy, just gold and solid and real. So what do you say? Want to legally bind yourself to a recovering workaholic who's still figuring out how to be human? Caleb laughed through tears he hadn't known he was crying. Yeah, I do. She kissed him, and somewhere in another room, Emma cheered. Apparently she'd been listening. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Patricia came, and if she cried during the vows, she blamed it on allergies. Marcus didn't attend, which was for the best. Emma was the flower girl and took her job with the seriousness of a UN diplomat. Victoria's vows made everyone cry. Caleb's made everyone laugh. It was messy and imperfect and exactly what they both needed. 2 years after the wedding, they stood on a terrace, not the Blackstone, but their own, watching snow fall over Chicago. Emma was inside, asleep. The penthouse had been transformed into something that was distinctly theirs. Art projects on the fridge, toys in the corner, pictures on the walls of moments that mattered. Do you ever regret it? Victoria asked, leaning against the railing. Saying yes that night? Taking a chance on someone as complicated as me? Every day, Caleb said. She turned, startled. He grinned. I'm kidding. Not even once. You? Not even once. She laced her fingers through his. We're a disaster, you know. Half the time I still don't know what I'm doing. I still work too much sometimes. I still panic when things feel too good. I'm still learning how to be someone's wife and Emma's stepmom, and you're perfect at it. Not because you get it all right, but because you keep trying. Because you chose us over everything else. Because you're here. Where else would I be? I don't know. Running an empire, being untouchable, proving everyone wrong. I'd rather be here. With you. Being touchable. She smiled. That sounded less weird in my head. I know what you meant. They stood there as the snow fell, two people who'd found each other in the middle of a storm and decided to build something real. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what anyone expected, but it was theirs. And that made all the difference. Inside, Emma stirred and called out. Victoria went to check on her, and Caleb heard their voices. Soft conversation about nightmares and reassurance and promises that everything was okay. His phone buzzed, a message from Rachel. You look happy. Finally. Sarah would be proud. He typed back, I think she would be too, and he meant it, because happiness wasn't about forgetting. It wasn't about replacing what was lost. It was about choosing to live anyway. To love anyway. To build something new from the broken pieces and call it beautiful even when it was flawed. Victoria returned, sliding her arms around him from behind. Emma wants you to check under the bed for monsters. Did you tell her there are no monsters? I told her I'd scare them away. But she said you're better at it. Apparently, I'm not intimidating enough to fictional creatures. Caleb laughed and went to deal with the monsters, real and imagined, because that's what you did when you built a life with someone. You faced the fears together. You took turns being strong. You showed up every single day and chose each other over and over until the choice became automatic. And somewhere between a conference room breakdown and a terrace confession, between $50,000 and a love that had nothing to do with money, Caleb Rhodes and Victoria Hale had learned the most important lesson of all. You didn't need to be perfect to be loved. You just needed to be real, to be brave enough to let someone see your broken parts and trust they wouldn't run, to show up messy and flawed and human and know that was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything.